before this NBA season kicks off in a few weeks, I figure I should put out my kind of brave or out there NBA opinions for this coming year. So I gathered the five I feel biggest ones that I've been thinking about over the last few months in the lead up and off season. The first one is that Luke Walton will be fired before the All-Star break. Now, Luke Walton has not had a great coaching career, although he was undefeated as head coach of the Warriors in that short stint when Steve Kerr was out. In all of his other head coaching roles, or I should say both other head coaching roles, he has not been good. To be fair, he's been given some rough situations, but still, it's not been good. In LA, he was given LeBron and a bunch of young guys and had them playing okay. Probably more credit to LeBron than Luke on that one, before LeBron went down with that groin injury, and then they just fell apart. And then he gets fired from that, which made sense. Gets a job offer from the Kings and takes it. The Kings, that year before Luke Walton arrived, were being coached by Dave Yeager, who had them running the fastest offense in the league. They were upbeat. They were exciting. They almost made the playoffs. Didn't quite get there, but they were just rapid, young, exciting, all of that. And with De'Aaron Fox at the helm, they looked like they were going to be a force moving forward. Luke Walton came in, said, this team has a clear identity that is really makes good use of their players. Let's completely change that in the opposite direction, and made them the slowest offense in the league, which I think it's a surprise to nobody that it just did not work. De'Aaron Fox looked like half the player he was under Dave Yeager, not really given the okay to get out and run at every opportunity possible, which made a lot of his talent a little bit toothless. They weren't finding open shooters as easily. It was pretty ugly. And I think that moving into this season, no change has been made. And I don't know. Given the chemistry issues that this team has already shown, and then adding Hassan Whiteside to that, just really does not seem like something that is going to prevent some sort of player revolt midway through the season that will be cause for Luke Walton to lose his job. The next prediction that I'll make is that Donovan Mitchell will be in MVP talks when we come to the end of this season. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not saying that he will win MVP. With the kind of numbers that guys like Luka, Trae Young, Giannis, and James Harden have been putting up, I don't know how attainable it is for somebody else to be entered in as a MVP contender, but I think that when you reach the end of this season, you'll have to say those kind of guys as well as Donovan Mitchell. If you look at his career so far, he burst onto the scene as a rookie, in my opinion, should have won Rookie of the Year that year, and was really, really impressive, and has kept that form up since then, which is, as I said, extremely impressive. But with most good young players, you see them take another step in their third, fourth year in the league. With a lot of guys, that is taking the step into stardom, into the potential that they've shown. You see that with Brandon Ingram this past year, somebody who kind of stepped into the role that people thought he would entering the league. And so with somebody like Donovan Mitchell, it's very possible that he already hit that mark and is just going to sustain it and hit that as rookie, and that will be where he is. But I think it's extremely possible that he does take a step up from where he's been at, which will make him a serious contender for that MVP conversation. On top of that, when you look at the supporting cast that he has, it is very good defensively and mediocre offensively. And, you think of what Donovan Mitchell is good at. He is a great offensive player with, at times, suspect defense. Guys like Rudy Gobert, Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, sometimes. They're guys who will lock down on that defensive end of the court, but something that this Jazz team has continually struggled with is offensive creation. Now, in the last few years, they've tried to rectify this, signing Jordan Clarkson to come off the bench. That's a good start, as well as having Bogdanovic. I think that's something that they really missed in the bubble. But realistically, the majority of offensive creation on that team has to go to Donovan Mitchell. And if he takes another step into being a true superstar, along with a good defense around him, which will hide some of his shortcomings, he might be in for a really impressive season. And I look forward to seeing that. Now, it's entirely possible that he also just stays where he's at, which will also be really good, and they will be a good team again, and they will make the playoffs. But if Donovan Mitchell steps it up another level, look to see the Jazz being a very good team, or an even better team, maybe breaking into that top 3 in the West, along with a conversation about does Donovan Mitchell deserve to be an MVP. The next prediction I have is a little bit more negative than that last one, and it is that the Raptors will fall to the bottom of the Eastern playoffs or out of the playoffs altogether. Now, I really don't like betting against Nick Nurse. He has proven that he's a great coach, great leader, all of that. And that's really my big drawback with this prediction, is that I kind of feel like Nick Nurse, in the same vein as, Popovich or Brad Stevens, can kind of make something out of nothing and push a team that really doesn't deserve to be at a high level into that really high level of play. That being said, their team is getting old, and they've also lost a few of their really talented pieces over the last few years. I think that the Ibaka loss, people have been talking about how big of a loss it is, but I don't think you'll be able to see it until they're back playing. The shot blocking, floor stretching, and just level-headedness that, sometimes level-headedness that Ibaka brings to a team, I think it's hard to put a value on that. And I love Aaron Baines. Don't get me wrong. He's awesome. But he is just not the same level of player that Ibaka is. And they didn't even get significantly younger with that move. So it's just a step backwards. One of the things that's so impressive about Nick Nurse is that as a team, they've been able to kind of siphon off some of their talent and replace it with late draft picks or even undrafted players that step up and rise to a level fit for a playoff contending team. But you got to wonder how much longer that can go. Kyle Lowry is getting old. Fred VanVleet just got his bag. He got paid a ton of money. And it'll be interesting to see if he can keep up the same intensity and all of that. I hope for everybody's sake that he does, because he's so much fun to watch, and I want the Raptors to stay good. That's good for the league and all of that, but it's not uncommon to see a guy get paid a lot of money and take a step backwards. Look at Nicholas Batum. Look at, all sorts of different examples that exist. And so if you see him regress a little bit, you see Kyle Lowry slow down a little bit with age, you lose a presence in Ibaka. I still don't know what the hell is going on with Terrence Davis and all his stuff, but you might be looking at a team that just can't quite put it together like they have in the last few years. I think for them to remain at the top of the East, Pascal Siakam would have to have a legitimate MVP caliber season and would have to kind of figure out his role a little bit more. I think OG would have to be in the most improved player conversation, and Norman Powell would have to be a sixth man candidate. Plus the addition of DeAndre Bembry, who I love, would have to seriously affect that team. And I don't know how likely all of that is. Again, hate betting against Nick Nurse, but I'm going to say that the Raptors just take a step back this year. Looking at another team in the East that I think will maybe disappoint people, in my opinion quite a bit, is the Charlotte Hornets. They are obviously super exciting right now. They just drafted LaMelo Ball. They have beautiful new jerseys. I love the pinstripes. They signed Gordon Hayward. All this. They've kind of become a pretty exciting team to pay attention to. But maybe it's just because I'm scarred by all of the other Hornets experiments that seem to fail, but I don't see this being as good as I think a lot of people do. I think they are a playoff hopeful team, definitely, but I wouldn't call them at all a playoff lock. They just gave a lot of money to Gordon Hayward. They gave him 2016 free agency money. And not only are we not in 2016 money-wise, but he is not 2016 Gordon Hayward form. I don't love that signing, honestly. If they signed him for a lot less money or for in a different situation, I would like it more. But I have not been impressed by Gordon Hayward since his injury. And I know he's made a really remarkable comeback, and he still has the ability to give you 30 on any given night. But he doesn't show the explosiveness and the confidence on the ball that made him a legitimate star player back in Utah. And so giving him that kind of money is a little bit suspect, especially when you have two young guys in Miles Bridges and PJ Washington who he'll be taking minutes from. I think that the signing of Hayward will mean kind of the end of one of those guys in Charlotte. Not that they'll be moved, but that they will stop being developed. They won't be a focus of development anymore. And I think that guy is likely going to be Miles Bridges. I really like him, loved him in college at Michigan State, but my guess is that they'll put him on the bench and they won't work as hard to incorporate him into the offense. And I think he's somebody who needs to be planned for in an offense for him to be successful. Looking at their guard situation, it looks like, to me, a lot of guys who can be effective with the ball in their hands, but aren't going to be effective without it and are going to be not great on the defensive end, which I don't like it. I'm just not a fan of it. I like the individual players. I think Devontae Graham is fantastic. I loved him coming out of Kansas, and I'm super happy that he got a chance to show what he could do last year. I have always wished that Terry Rozier would have been able to keep up that playoff form back when he was on the Celtics. Even so, he had an alright year last year. But neither one of those guys can really play consistent defense. And you add LaMelo Ball to that mix, which I don't love that fit. I understand that, you had LaMelo at 3. You want fans to be paying attention. You want to be exciting. You want to be the team that people are looking at. Adding LaMelo Ball is the way to do that. But I have the same worries about him that I did about his brother coming into the league, which is that shot. Don't know if it's going to be consistent. His brother overachieved defensively, I think, in the league. It's very possible that LaMelo will do that too. It is also very possible that he will underachieve and be basically a tall Trae Young that can't shoot. Now, I'm hoping that he does well because it's going to be good for the league. It's going to be good for a small market team in Charlotte and all of that. But again, I don't like his fit next to the other guys, especially if that shot doesn't fall kind of immediately in Charlotte. That means he's going to have to be on the ball all the time when he's in, and I think you're going to be probably better off feeding it to your number 3 pick, but you have two guys in Rozier and Vontae who are coming off pretty good seasons that you're going to have to kind of cut out of their offensive role, which I think will have issues. And on top of that, on top of all of this, which seems like weird fits and maybe not amazing chemistry, you don't have a starting quality center. Bismack Biyombo, unless it's a 2017 playoff series, is not very good. And Tyler Zeller is an average center. I don't think anyone would say he's bad. But if you're looking to make a playoff push and you're relying on Cody Zeller to be your stalwart guy in the middle, not a fan. Maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe I'm entirely wrong and they'll be a top 5 seed in the East. But I just don't like their moves. And my last prediction, has to do with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it is that by the end of the season, Jarrett Culver will be starting over Anthony Edwards. Now, I don't know exactly what their plan is starting lineup-wise going into the season, but I can only assume that they'll be running D'Angelo Russell at the 1, Anthony Edwards at the 2, Josh Okogie at the 3, maybe Juancho Hernan-Gomez at the 4, and obviously Cat at the 5. But I think that Jarrett Culver will be really impressive off the bench. I think he'll take some great strides. And in turn, Anthony Edwards will not look great as a rookie. And so by the end of the year, I think that Anthony Edwards will be fighting for minutes off the bench, whereas Jarrett Culver will be will stick in that starting lineup. Now, one of the reasons why I say this is that Anthony Edwards apparently doesn't like basketball. And by all accounts, Jarrett Culver does. Now, I'm not sure what to make of those reports about Anthony Edwards would rather be a rapper. He'd rather play football, all of that. Who knows? He's in the NBA now, so he's going to play, and he's probably going to be all right. The issue is that he strikes me as somebody very similar to Andrew Wiggins, which is a very bad basketball player in a very good basketball player's body. He obviously has all the athletic and physical tools of an NBA star, but I worry that there's not going to be effort on defense, that he won't focus on improving. He's just going to look checked out. He's going to lose assignments, all of that. And if a guy like Culver is impressing off the bench, I could see them saying, we've seen this story before with Andrew Wiggins, actually, exactly. We're not going to do it again. We're going to give it to somebody who wants it. And I think Jarrett Culver could step into having a really good second season. 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists is not a very good rookie season for a 5th pick, especially one who was supposed to come right into the starting lineup like Anthony Edwards is this year. But I think Culver's ceiling is so high that it would be hard for me to watch him not achieve that. I loved watching him at Texas Tech, and just his defensive potential is so good. Long arms, quick active hands, fast moving feet. He seems to read passes very quickly. He's a surprisingly good shot blocker. I think he can be a defensive player of the year candidate later in his career. The issue, though, has been offense. I was surprised to see how comfortable he was on the ball last year for the Timberwolves. He looked really competent and at times even dangerous, making space for himself. He's super athletic. I mean, you think back to numerous fast break dunks through traffic or that crazy poster over Robin Lopez. The big issue, I think, was his shot, especially from 3-point range last year. Although a little bit unorthodox, I think the motion does look comfortable for him. You know, some guys look like it's inconsistent, like they don't know what they're doing. And for him, it does look like he's confident in it. It just wasn't falling. I think he was about a 22% 3-point shooter, which not good. But you know, when you have a consistent motion and if he's putting in work, I think he could really improve on that side of the ball. And if you're the Timberwolves and you look at a guy who's potentially not invested in the team, not checked in, not playing defense, and you could instead put somebody who's going to be a really good defensive perimeter player, which D'Angelo Russell needs, as well as an auxiliary ball handler and somebody who can space the floor a bit, I can see Jarrett Culver squarely taking that job away from Anthony Edwards. So those are my 5 brave NBA predictions for this year. Who knows if any of them will come true? I hope they will, or won't, because I like the Raptors. But yeah, thank you for watching.